It's just another mental health Monday. I thought it'd be cute if I kind of roll in. See what I did there? See the effect? Welcome to Mental Health Care Monday at JRock Therapy Academy. I am your journalist and host, neuropsychotherapist and mental health care media commentator, Bella J. Rockman. And today we're going to have on the dynamic Leslieeeeee Garcia, who I am going to invite to the live in just a moment as I can figure it out. Thank you all for joining, and thank you all that are messaging me randomly from other platforms because you're too shy to join, but that's okay. I'm not going to judge you. You can still catch us on the podcast. I mean, I'm an introvert too, so I guess I can't blame you. You know, you don't want to be seen in public. You don't even want to be seen in a live, but you can catch us on the JRock Report podcast if you subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or any of your other streaming platforms. So let's see here. I'm going to wave to some of you because I'm just cool like that. And I'm managing social media. Organic jam, but I'm doing it, guys. I always say get comfortable being uncomfortable. So Leslieeeeee Garcia, who I think is popping up right now. Where are you, Leslie? I see the little wheel turning. Okay, I think she's joining. Um, Today we're going to talk about body image. We're going to talk about wellness. We're going to talk about movement, and movement is medicine. And I'm really glad that you're here because this applies to everybody. Can everybody stop acting like mental health care doesn't apply to them, please? Like, saying mental health care doesn't apply to you is like saying that you've never had a cold or allergies or you don't even have health care at all. It's all a part of it. Let me see if I can invite Leslie again. Hold on. Come on, Miss Garcia. Um, let's see here. Okay. Leslie, if you're in the chat, I guess tell me what's happening on your end. Are you seeing the request? Or you can text, well, actually, you can't text me, but you can text our team member and tell them what's happening. You're having difficulty. You're here. So, do you see me sending you an invite request? Have you done the IG live? Because I know they're a little different than like a Zoom thing or whatever. Have you done IG live before? I see you're here, Leslie. Hi, everybody. By the way, hi, Jess and everyone else. Okay. Oh, it says unable to join. Okay. Hi, Nick. Hi, Lolani. Hi, PMDA. Um, it expired. Okay. So there is a small possibility that, okay, I'm sending you another invite. Let's see if 2024 technology is gonna be on our side today, Leslie. I see my screen just changed. That means half of it is available for you to join. I see the little wheel, the little circle of trust going. And are you connected to Wi-Fi? And if for some reason you're not able to do this live, then I'm just going to talk about some basic principles of eating to live and living to eat and body image, and then we'll just record it and we'll upload it to the podcast. So, ooh. Yeah, I keep sending the invite, and I don't know. I don't know, Miss Jordan. I keep sending the invite, uh, and then it shows. No, I don't hear or see you. So when I send the invite, it show the screen changes where it's a half screen where I'm at the top of it, and then it looks like there's a black space for you to be at the bottom, and then it starts turning like it's trying to bring you into it, but then it stops. And are you connected to stable Wi-Fi, or maybe you could turn off Wi-Fi and connect to your cell phone's data, because clearly I'm an IT person, so I know all these things. That's the only other thing I could think of is if you want to try connecting to your phone's Wi-Fi to make it more stable, or potentially connecting, making sure your Wi-Fi connection is stable where you are. Okay. Yeah, it keeps giving a thing that says that you're unable to join. Okay. I mean, is this live going to be so powerful that like something's in the air like getting in the way of it? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Do that with your connection because I specialize in IT. That's my other hat I wear in the world. I wear a lot of hats, guys. I'm being sarcastic. I don't specialize in IT. I did grow up around some IT people though, so I know a couple of things. But and then listen, in journalism, they say the show must go on. Actually, they say that in the circus world, but the show must go on. And so, if best comes to best, we will just record outside of a live platform and we will upload it to the podcast. Don't you worry. No stress here. We don't do stress. Well, we do low stress, if anything. So let's see. View request. And now it says go live. Let's see. Let's see. It says go live. Let's see what's finna happen. Gonna take a moment.
Hello.
Taking a moment.
Hello.
Clearing
Hello.
the air
Hello.
channels.
Oh my God.
It's good to see you.
And it's good to see you and be seeing you from this live. Oh my gosh, the internet
I know.
will not prosper against me today.
Internet will not today, internet.
Not
Not
today.
today. Not
Wi-Fi
today.
connection.
I'm glad you're here because we have a lot of viewers and listeners that tune into my work on CBS or tune into my work on NPR. And then we have this beautiful tribe of 1,400 lovelies that were not bought or paid for. And I'm very proud to say that
Yeah.
actually love what we're doing here. And some of them are a little shy, so they'll come back on after and be like, I watched it after. But I'm so happy to be able to introduce you to our JRTA, JRock Therapy Academy tribe family.
I'm super grateful to be here. Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome. So if it's okay, I don't always remember to do this, but I guess I just got good sleep last night. Can I share your bio with everybody for a moment?
Please, please.
Okay, great. So Leslie Jordan Garcia, MBA, MPH, she, her, is a multi-certified wellness and movement professional, consultant, and certified eating disorder recovery coach. Her helping health career, I love that. Her helping health career has spanned military, public health, education, and nonprofit sectors, and is rooted in the unwavering belief that all people are deserving of a life of agency, self-determination, and joy. Through her private practice, Liberati Wellness, which you guys will see on the JRock Therapy Instagram page all over the place because she took over our Instagram page over the weekend, which she did so beautifully, provides ED recovery coaching, and HAES, which is what, Leslie? Which
Help
HAES?
at every side.
Health at every size. See, that's an acronym I didn't know. I want to snap my fingers at that. HAES, health at every size, align personal training to help individuals find holistic well-being and gain liberation. That's the word I'm thinking of. Let liberty ring from oppressive food, body, and movement relationships. Additionally, she consults, educates, and partners with organizations to embed social justice principles into their work for the collective liberation of our communities. I love that. I didn't even realize that collective was in your bio, but I talked about the collective consciousness this morning and how our personal health is a part of our mental health. And I would say the dis-ease process starts when we are in a state of, we're not in a state of ease over time. Too many times I have fireworks behind me. Wow. Do you see that? Do you see that too? Okay,
I was
great.
like, wow.
Let freedom ring. But the dis-ease process starts when we're suppressing our feelings, we're suppressing our emotions, and that affects not only our physical health, but our mental health, and then the collective health, which is a public health issue.
Oh
So
yeah.
just real quick before I really jump in, the National Library of Medicine defines body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, as a psychiatric condition that's defined by the American Psychiatric Association in terms of when a person has a preoccupation with a perceived defect. So those of you listening, listen really, really good. And this is great, especially around the holiday times. But a perceived defect or flaw in one's physical appearance when in fact they appear normal. And it's often unrecognized, and it's a very prevalent and all-consuming focus on perceived physical imperfections. Now, what I want to segue into is this seems to be so heavily interwoven into our collective thought. So tell us about you. Tell us about where you want to start with this conversation. And the journalist in me is just going to throw away some of this very specific things and let's just kind of chat because I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Wow. So that was a lot. Like I could jump in at so many points, right? Because yeah, so BDD, that body dysmorphic disorder. Yeah, it's about how we perceive flaws, right? About ourselves. And like you said, it is a diagnosable in the DSM. Um, and I think that on a lesser intense level, most of us are experiencing body grief, what I call it, right? It's like not it's diagnosable, but it's certainly more than just a perception. It's how we feel,
Mm-hmm.
and about our body image, and that we don't have a body that's worthy, right? I think even without having that full BDD, right? Because this body dysmorphia says like, I have a nose that's just huge, just messing up my face, like, and your
It's
nose is
beyond
normal,
the
right?
physical body,
Right. It's
like
how
necked out.
you perceive it that just,
Whole
and you don't have an accurate perception, right? Body
mm-hmm.
grief is just feeling inadequate, like these feelings of sadness, like you're literally grieving this ideal image, whether you've ever had it or never had it. It's something that you are attached to so deeply that not having it causes you grief.
Mm-hmm. Not having the perception of what you feel like you should have causes
Yeah, the
grief.
ideal body, whatever your ideal line,
Okay.
if it's thick, curvy, if it's whatever you think your ideal body is, and you're so attached to that ideal, and when you don't have it, it just causes you grief, and it's
Ooh.
very difficult to, as we all know, regular grief, right? Grief of loss, grief of divorce, anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
manifests in our body. So it's very difficult to process
Mm-hmm.
body grief when your
Mm-hmm.
body has the symptoms and it's the thing that you're grieving. It,
Rewind. That needs to be our quote. If one of our team members is watching, it's very difficult to process body grief if your body.
is experiencing symptoms of grief and it's the thing that you're grieving at the same time.
Wow, that's huge.
It's huge because it affects, like you said, our mental health. Like I think in our society, health has a look, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're so deeply tied to this look and you think that that's all health is, you're missing all these other dimensions that definitely affect our quality of life, right? So beyond a look, there's all these other dimensions of well-being, and mental, psychological well-being is really, I think, right up there with physical health, right? Like to me, those are so tightly connected. It just doesn't behoove us to separate them
As the
because
mind
it's just
goes, as the mind goes, so does the body. As the mind goes, so does the spirit, so does the soul, and so does the collective.
that's why it's collective, right? Because we are all tapped into this one inner source of energy. And I think that as we continue to read studies and learn about our bodies and the mind body connection, right? Like Western medicine is a little bit behind Eastern
Mm-hmm.
and traditional African and indigenous thought processes
That's
on how
fair.
tied our
Yeah.
mind and bodies are,
Yeah.
that they're starting to realize that our brains only give our bodies 30% of some of the input, but our bodies give our brains 70%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our body is literally the vehicle through which we experience the world.
Yeah, and here at the Academy, we focus on epigenetics and intergenerational healing, nutritional psychology, and then nervous system regulation, right? And then, of course, we do our pop culture news and entertainment stuff
Yeah.
from a mental health care perspective. But my point in that is that I often say, our gut is our first brain. So if our gut is imbalanced because we're not only Oh my God. On one hand, all the meditation and yoga and cleansing in the world can't fix a toxic thought process and holding on to repressed trauma or anger, you
And
know?
that what you're talking about, and some of that generational trauma, and when you tie it to epigenetics, like even if, right, it's why cycle breaking is so burdensome, because your genes are turned on from what your ancestors have gone through, even your communal ancestors, right? Even if it's not just biological, there are patterns that you have learned. And we now know that epigenetics turns those on. If your ancestors, I'm the African diaspora, the ancestors of the African diaspora endured, um, I won't say famine because they didn't endure natural disaster. They induced starvation. They endure, they endure unspeakable trauma, harm, fear, anxiety, stress, right? So when we experience those now, our genes are already predisposed to turn on in a certain way, right? That's epigenetics. And it can't be just ignored. And every individual then has their own individual expression of those genes and based on their situations and living. So it's very much um, wired in, but it doesn't mean we can't overcome it. But it does tell us why it's so hard to overcome,
Right.
because it's wired in before we got here, right? Like those are things about us that we had no say in. They were given to us, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so eating patterns, the relationship with food. When you talk about nutritional psychology, that's one of the things I think I combat most often is that
Yeah.
the principles of health at every side say that an individual can improve
Yeah.
their health by practicing health promoting behaviors.
Yeah.
And sure, if you get better sleep or manage your stress better, your health is going to improve. If you move more, your physical stamina, cardiovascular, all that's going to
Yeah.
improve, and it's all great. We want that
Mm-hmm.
for those of us who do want it. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's also a way to look at things and take back. It's a more of a reclaiming and an empowerment set of principles that lets you have the agency and autonomy that you deserve in that direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so true. And when I work with patients or when I'm doing a live event or when I'm going to a school and talking to elementary schools, elementary students rather, or talking to college and graduate school students like at UT, the medical students, the engineering students, I often say, and this is something that we're not taught in the first 5 years of life. We're taught this when we have like prenatal and postnatal and early sort of that neonatal development process that there should be changes. But
Mm.
somehow we start to believe that in early childhood development that our bodies become this static thing. And then we start to think that we're trying to get back to this version of this body that existed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the truth is, and most people don't even realize it, but our bodies can change seasonally. Leslie, you can see me today in the winter season where maybe my body holds on to a little bit more fat and a little bit more muscle. And then you can see me again in the spring and it's a little bit different. And depending on other factors, like if you have, like I have a disability, so sometimes I have flare ups and I'm like, oh God, I gotta start again. It just waxes and wanes. But if my goal is to always be this one particular size, for goodness sakes, I hear people say, I want to get back to my size that I was in high school. Like, first of all, are you comfortable in your earth suit? First of all,
Right.
do you like what you see? Because we're getting so many mixed messages. I remember when I used to do runway modeling and it was the wafer thin thing. You needed to look emaciated. Girls would have the flu and they'd be like, oh my God, you look amazing. And they're like, I was sick. Why do they think I look amazing? And then it became the more curvy thing. Then it became, if you go with every trend and every fad of our culture, cult thinking culture, you're going to be thinking you need to be 10 different things for 10 different people. And I realized that I was very self-conscious about my body, especially in certain communities. You walk in the room and everybody's like, oh, here you are, especially around the holidays and stuff. And so it took so much time, even for me, just to be able to be like, here is my whole body and I am okay with it. And if whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't, that's okay. But then, of course, especially when you're in a relationship or something like that, that person loves you unconditionally, right? And then, but you have to love yourself unconditionally and be okay with those changes. So, can you speak to the fluctuation that we should have naturally, and that we shouldn't have this tight frame of something that is our body, because our bodies are meant to change over time from the time we hit the planet to the time that we, you know.
leave or go back to the planet rather, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think that two things that you talked about, I think that people are conditioned to to not really understand that that's the way it is. Body diversity,
Body
right?
diversity.
Um, not all bodies are going to be thin. Not all bodies are going to have visible six packs. Like that just is not how bodies are. Bodies are diverse.
Mm-hmm.
There have been larger, heavier people here all the time, even when they were running and doing things. Some bodies are just larger. There are also bodies that are shorter. There are bodies that are taller. Like all of these are things that are naturally occur in diversity, right? Body diversity is one thing. We think that we're all supposed to live the same. You and I can eat and move the exact same, and we're still going to have very different bodies, and that's okay. That's body diversity. The other thing is what you were speaking to is the bodies change all day, every day, from day one, right? Constantly changing. We are matter that is affected. We are not a closed system. This is why this 3,500 calories in and out equals 1 pound. We're not a closed system. We're not a engine motor. Like you put in this much gas, you get this many miles. We're an open system. We interact with our environment. Therefore, we're an open system, and laws of physics that are designed for closed systems don't apply to us, right? So our bodies change. Our bodies fluctuate based on
Laws of
sleep.
physics that apply to closed systems don't apply to us because we're an open system
We are
physically.
open systems. We openly interact, knowingly, unconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
effortlessly interact. We are affected by air quality. We
Mm-hmm.
are we're affected by food quality. We're affected by sleep quality. We're affected by stress. We are constantly interacting with our environments, and our bodies will change accordingly. That is natural. That is something that we have to accept is going to change. I think that people want to live agelessly is great. If you want to maintain mobility, flexibility across your lifespan, more power to you. Like I think that's great. Like I'm trying to hold on to as much mobility as I can, right?
Yeah.
But this idea that I need to look 30 when I'm 70, or I need to look 30 when it's unnatural. Like those are badges of honor. Like you have survived. Like what we're up against. Like
Yes.
aging is a natural process. So much of what when it comes to bodies, and of course it's marketing. I mean, I'll just say it,
Uh,
it's marketing. So much of what we believe about our bodies and other bodies is so much marketing from an external perspective, right?
yeah.
And it's not because anything's wrong with the naturally aging body. It's because that there's no money to be made in a naturally aging body. So
But
no, I
but
need to
then
convince you that you
but
need to
then
look
as
this way.
but as a okay, so I'm certified in life coaching. As a coach, I would say, but we shouldn't set goals for ourselves that are not they're not smart. It's not specific. It's not measurable. It's not attainable. Or it's not realistic. And it does have a timetable, but this isn't attainable or realistic. So why would the goal be to look infantile, or why would the goal be for 50 to be the new 30 or 80 to be the new 60? Like, why do we have
Right.
to keep? And I only notice that here when I travel overseas, I don't. People see the lines in people's faces. People see the whiteness in their hair, and they almost, dare I say, idolize it. It's like revered. Revered is a
Yes.
better word. Like, oh my God, you've gotten to this point. But
You
I
got
notice it
to
more
this point.
here. So what is that about? That's not attainable or
That
realistic.
is our Western culture, right? Like it's very interesting to me. And when you talk about, and it not only the marketing, but that marketing to separate us from our internal and intuitive wisdom, right?
Internal and intuitive wisdom. Everybody write that down.
We get separated from that. And so then when we are disconnected and disembodied because we're looking to the outside always, you're never going to be happy. The standard is a moving target, right? You're never going to hit implants in, implants out, hair this out. You're never going to hit the target because it constantly moves.
Disconnected and disembodied, looking for an external target.
Yes, you can't.
Disconnected and disembodied, looking for an external target. I always talk about internal versus external
Got
identity,
to be
but the way you
internal.
said that,
Yes,
yeah,
you have to be happy with yourself, and that's why I would talk about like body neutrality is an approach that is an empowering approach because it helps you disconnect from those external sources of validation, the fleeting, right? Those are the ones that fleet. You lose weight, people praise you, even if you were sick, and they don't care really about your health. It's all about an appearance, an external appearance that they interface with. It's not about your health or your well-being. You gain weight, they treat you differently. You have to be okay with the person that you are and know that you are worthy at any point by sheer merit of your existence. You are a human. You are on this side of the earth. You deserve dignity and respect and autonomy in your life. That and full stop. You don't have to qualify for that. You being born with all the qualification that it took.
You being born is a qualification, you said.
That's it. That's the only one that
I
matters.
call
And
that,
so,
I think is that what maybe, is this the same thing I call it divine sovereignty?
so hey, we have it.
Right, a sovereignty that we don't have to come into this world proving this and proving that. And sounds like where we have to do re-education because there's been some
Like,
miseducation. Because that means that babies and children need to be taught body neutrality and they need to be taught about an open physics system versus closed and taught about, internal validation versus external validation. I always say a source in self.
yeah,
Where, sometimes even little kiddos will, well, what do you think about this? Or even if it's like, one of the children, I just want to know what you think, Mom. I said, what mommy thinks is important, but most important is does it resonate in here for you? Does it feel authentic for you? Does it feel authentic for you and for God, for source,
yeah.
whatever you call that? Does that feel, and then then they're like, yeah, then I'm like, okay, I got your
Then it's
back. Because
fine
I don't want to raise them with that codependence. I don't want to raise them trying to please me the rest of their life. Then they go marry or partner with somebody
that
to
they were
try and
now
please
trying
them the
to
rest.
please that person. Right, right, right. You have to be. And I know it sounds and
I
that
had everybody
it
come
gets.
in, so I'll keep trying to wave. Sorry, go ahead, Leslie.
No, I get a lot of pushback by like, oh, that just means you're just gonna eat donuts or you're just gonna eat. I'm like,
Oh,
no one is saying that at all. Like from a nutritional standpoint, no one's ever said that. Even
yeah,
though if that's what you want to eat, you can eat that, right?
yeah,
When you talk about nutrition though, when I talk about being autonomous in my body and accepting of my body and the changes that it
yeah.
is, like I think that the fact that we don't talk about it means that we don't accept the ones that we know are coming. Like we take for granted that you're going to be healthy. Like when we talk about body changes, they're not just, oh, I dieted or did this or moved more and lost weight. What about if you're in a car wreck? What about if you have an onset of a disability? A friend of mine that was 33 years old, a health and wellness director,
Girls, get off the
always
mic.
helping me, just died from sarcoma.
Oh my
Like
God.
when I talk
I'm
about
sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's heartbreaking, but it also illuminates a point that we are not in control like we think we are. This is a very Western construct, um, so deeply tied to white supremacy culture, like to control, to be in control. We aren't in control. We can be in charge of our behaviors. We can be in charge of our thoughts, but there are forces at play that we just aren't in control of.
Hmm.
And I think that when we can talk about bodies changing in that way and know that, hey, you're not promised any of this stuff just because you think you should be. Like, you're not promised functionability of your eyes. I watched my mother go blind. She was a nurse.
I'm
Watched
sorry
her
to
go
hear
blind
that.
from
Hmm.
illness. Like, you're
Hmm.
not promised that. And yet you're still a valuable person. Like, I
Yeah.
think that that is what we're missing when we ignore
Yeah.
the reality, like when we ignore these things, like health-ism has just become another ism in our. Yeah, it's great
Oh,
if you have health, like it's great, preserve it if you want, but I
yeah.
don't owe you my health, you don't owe me your health, and it doesn't mean that you can judge me, discount me, oppress me, discriminate because you perceive me to be less healthy, i.e. less deserving, right?
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother podcast right there. Please write that down and email us later so we don't forget. We'll tackle that maybe in 2025.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's something else that I found. We're gonna all have differing abilities at some point. We put ADA, accommodations, Americans with Disabilities. We put it in this box. Ableism, very ableist.
uh,
You're-
Please don't get, yeah,
you
hand in
know,
hand,
and it's
hand in
like
hand.
everybody's going to have a differing ability at some point. And to your point about different cultures and ideas, my little, gosh, like 5 foot Indian, African, Irish redhead with freckles grandma, who they call Red because she was a little hothead And she called me little Indian girl. That was her name for me. And she called herself Indian.
Yeah.
That was what she felt comfortable with because there weren't all these
Hey,
different
you
terms and all that.
reclaim the words. Yeah, that's
She
fine.
was like, whatever. But she would say to me, and she would take me outside, and we were so close, and she would stand there and she would wait for the wind to start to blow. And then she'd say, you feel that? You feel that? She said, when you don't know, go with the flow. Let the wind carry you. So these were like indigenous ideas that were very symbiotically connected to like what we call in American Psychological Association, the paranormal, the spirit, the intuition, the gut, some people call it the sixth sense, the third eye, all these different names. But what you're saying is like, it is so true. What we can control is ourselves, and we can control our reactions. But this idea that we can microscopically manage every part that comes into our day, which causes so much anxiety and distress and depression and obsessive compulsion, is just, it's maladaptive thinking. It's not an attainable, realistic goal. And so even for me, with my background and having the Nigerian roots and some of the other stuff, and some of the tall Seminole ancestors I had, these guys are 6'6". I'm not gonna be. I don't even want to be. I'm over 200 pounds and I'm proud of it. And I'm almost 6 feet tall. I would have never been able to say that out loud years ago because that was such a thing. Because in high school, I think I was like 125. But it was emaciated for me. That BMI wasn't proper for, and the whole BMI thing, I know is another conversation. But my point is, the love of myself and the love of ourselves and accepting where we are. And like, I don't even want to be that. Like, I'm cool with being this big, feminine gladiator. I'm just,
Exactly.
I'm a big
And
girl.
I think that people are so cool. Like
I see
everyone's
somebody
unique
say
and it's
yes.
great. And being able to accept that in the face of what we're up against it's
Yeah,
difficult because we're
yeah,
so inundated with imagery,
yeah.
especially in our day and time. Like the advent of the internet just really increased how much
Oh dear.
it increased opportunities for us to judge other bodies and then compare ourselves to these
Oh
bodies,
God. And
right?
comparison is
Like
the thief of
it
joy.
really,
God.
and so in judgment, like when you can look at a body and not judge it,
Yeah,
man, you are setting yourself free. You
yeah,
are setting yourself free because
yeah.
it is so hard to see someone and and like automatically judge them. Because then what comes next is comparison.
I
So
don't think we
really
even
being
realize we're
able,
doing it. You
yeah,
saying
without you,
that, I think
yeah,
you need to run for office or something and tell people this because
stop.
I don't think people even realize that they're going through the day. All genders, men. This is not a female conversation. This is not a specific ethnicity, race, socioeconomic class. People just, oh, he's tall. Oh, he's shorter. Oh, he's got a dad bod, and there's a lot of body shaming that comes. And I see like the athletes that I work with in the, in their little their type of locker room conversation and how they poke at each other,
Yeah.
and they've got BDD issues too. And they look in the mirror and they stare at each other and they stare at themselves and they're like, I gotta get back to where So what do we do with this when we're judging? Like you said, when we're judging and judging, how do we soften that groove in our brain and de-illuminate it to create a new groove and start to retrain our thinking?
Think that right there is just where working with a professional, a coach, or someone that really helps you um, reframe those thoughts and also build new cognitive pathways, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it takes practice. Like it really does take practice. Like you have to be cognizant and just say, oh wait, I'm judging a body. Why? What is it? What is me wanting to judge this body? Tell me about what I need. Tell me about what I'm missing. Tell me about what I'm feeling. Tell me what I'm thinking about my own body. Like those are the things that we need to be able to stop and think about and ask ourselves those questions because their body isn't really the issue. It's really the thoughts that we are holding,
Is
the
that
beliefs
projection then?
that
Is that
yeah,
projection?
it's definitely projection.
Mhm.
It's us like really wanting to know and being disconnected from what we need from, and it may not be what we need in this moment. It may have been what we needed as a 13-year-old girl hearing comments or watching someone. Like it may be an attachment wound. It may be just some deep-seated harm or hurt that we experience that keeps us locked into these patterns. That's living in the past. Like there's some part of us, inner child, shadow work, whatever you want to call it, like
Yeah,
being able to touch that part of ourselves that was harmed and didn't get what we needed at that stage.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah. So then what's our collective responsibility, right? Because I think all it takes is to, and I'm just going to name things that I've seen happen in our society before or that I've had patients or clients say have happened. all it takes is for somebody to take a little guy and squeeze his side and say, man, you're getting a little chunky, little guy. Or to have somebody say, well, you know, oh, your nose is thinner than mine. I had always wished I had a thinner nose. Or your lips are fuller than mine. I had always wished I had fuller. So maybe they're even doing what they think is a positive comparison to the child, but then it makes the child hyper aware of their own features. What's our responsibility, especially going into some of our American
Yeah,
holidays as a collective and then going forward?
sure. I think our collective responsibility is honestly to challenge comments on bodies. Like at the very least, push back
Mm,
against body comments. Even if the person says, "I was just trying to give you a compliment," I think that the very least, collectively, we should be commenting or complimenting people based on things that, you know what, you really you did X, Y, Z. I thought that was so brave. Or, I really appreciate how kind you are. Thank you for, like, me and I have two
you mean
daughters,
intrinsic characteristics, things that are not external?
the no, ones that are non-external.
What?
And then also, I believe that the other side of that is when we hear a comment, weight loss, weight gain, featureism, if that person doesn't have the language, someone says, hey, that's not necessary, or body comments aren't helpful. Like, and it's like, what is that DBT skill of coping ahead? And sometimes I work with my clients practicing these thoughts, right? These statements before going into the holidays. I'm actually going to be having a workshop online before the holidays called
Please
Take
tell
Back
us
the
about it.
Holidays.
How can people get involved? What do they need to know?
Take Back the Holidays. I'm actually going to be posting for. I was actually waiting for this. I'll post about it today or tomorrow. But Take Back the Holidays. So hour-long workshop, and it's 3 key DBT skills: coping ahead, resiliency, and just reframing, so that you can challenge this and take back the holidays. Because you have to be able to be comfortable with
I
it.
see you
Because
getting some
I'm
heart
raising two
feedback.
daughters. Yeah, I'm raising two daughters, and so body talk is something I didn't model for them, and so they don't have it. Like, it's amazing to see how it really does make a difference.
The body neutrality, right? And that's so important. And I think regardless, and I have to say this again because I don't like, and I didn't like it when I was in the modeling industry. I don't, it's not as much in journalism, but I don't like how we make it a gender issue. This is genderless. So if you're raising kiddos that are little boys, little girls, or however they identify, I have to say these days,
Yeah.
you need to make sure though that like you practice this body neutrality with them too. Like this should not
Yeah.
be a type of thing that's just for one
Oh
particular
yeah.
gender because I think a
Because
lot of men,
everyone is affected by it.
yeah, and a lot of men
Everyone.
suffer in silence about feeling too thin or too short or too this or that. And then we haven't even gotten into all the other isms like ageism and colorism and then texturism with hair. I mean, come on, like
Or
it
skin, or
just
even like the blemishes on skin. Like, people think that they're not supposed to have acne anymore, or that once you get through a certain age, your skin should always be flawless. Like, what is this? Like, I don't know.
that ties into our filter culture though, and I think why some states were trying to pass laws in Congress to prevent the over filtering of all content. Not
Yeah.
that maybe that should be monitored, but what's happening is there's a lot of children that are growing up or Gen Alpha or Gen Z and they're seeing these images online and they're thinking that they're
Right.
thinking it's
That
creating a
this is how
cognitive
this is
distortion
going.
where they're thinking it's something that actually could be created and it's really a filter.
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
so in honor of our talk today, I posted like a little workout thing and just like, hey, let's get up and get moving. And if there's ripples or dimples or whatever, like just whatever. It's all
Right.
beautiful
Right.
to me because think about trees. Like when when I used to do like nature walks and things like that, or when I've gone on those little nature tours, and you see the tree and all the lines in it, they tell the story of the tree. Like the imperfections or the perceived imperfections are what make it unique. Okay, so how do I think that everyone should have to go through like sessions with someone like you or with you because everybody's been affected by this at some point.
Everybody.
I mean, we're kind of, it's almost like I say with detoxing, like physical detoxing. I'm like, and I got this from my friend Brenda Lee, who's a coach in Nashville, Tennessee, 10 years ago when I used to do training with her and workshop stuff with her. But she's like, we live in a toxic world. We live in a toxic world. So you have to just keep detoxing, cleansing, do your lemon water, do your garlic water. And it's the same thing with this. Like this is going to be a part of our psyche on some
Oh
level,
yeah.
right? I mean, I think.
We should
Okay.
be constantly unlearning. We should be constantly unlearning
Constantly unlearning.
constructs. constructs and learning some, like it's a work, like it's a lifelong work. Like I
Yeah.
help other people and I have to stay ahead of myself. I'm
Yeah.
constantly, yeah,
Right. I know. Doing this work is the gift that keeps giving, isn't it?
yeah,
Because every
yeah.
day it gets to reflect a mirror back to me to see where I can sharpen or motivate or
Learn
decrease
or grow
stuff.
or unlearn something
Right.
constantly.
Okay. So two more questions for you. I want to know where people can find you, but answer that one last, please. What do you say to the cycle breakers? Because I love what you said about that. And there was something that I don't think made our IG takeover, but you were talking about how many pictures have you missed out on? How many events have you missed out on because you're hiding yourself? That really resonated. But then we also posted something about cycle breakers. So what would you say to our cycle breakers that are listening?
Stay the course. It's worth it. It's hard work. Like if you're breaking an abuse cycle of alcoholism, dieting, whatever the cycle is, that you're breaking, it is it is a lot of work. You're building your resiliency, and I just want you to know that I see you because it's not easy because of what we're talking about, how ingrained, even through the DNA, some of these patterns and
DNA
responses.
methylation patterns. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you think that you just have this. No, you're given this, a lot of this, and you're breaking the cycle. And that was really what I wanted people to know, is that like it's worth it. It's worth the work. And we can see the difference in one generation. Like that's what's so amazing about it. Just like I see my kids not talk about bodies in the way that I heard bodies talked about, and it's just amazing like how much freedom they have
Yeah.
to love, admire, and appreciate diversity. Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't they don't think about it, and they're empowered to tell their friends, oh no, we don't say stuff like that. Or like I'm in my 12-year-old and in my 23-year-old, like I see it.
Wow.
So it's worth it. It's worth it. It's hard work. It is hard. It is hard. So get you a community. When we talk about collective, I will always talk about community, having community support and friends who understand that work and engage in that work and can support you in that work, because you must be constantly filling your cup if you're breaking the cycle. You cannot do it on pouring out of an empty cup. You need to be constantly poured into to break a cycle, and you deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, those are really powerful thoughts. There's a book that I recommend for every patient that I work with called It Didn't Start With You by Dr.
Mm,
Mercola. And it's the impacts of epigenetic changes and intergenerational trauma. And then also, of course, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's book that's become really popular in pop culture, The Body Keeps the Score.
yeah,
Um, and then I do like some of Marianne Williamson's work around spirituality, and Janine Ross as well, around how we hang on to trauma and sometimes the weight that we're hanging on to, the uncomfortable weight, I should say, because all of us are
yeah,
uncomfortable, is stuff that it's like we're not processing trauma. So sometimes we try to process it through our food, or we try and protect ourselves through holding on, and it's like, if you can't process something, the way to process it is not to start to obsess over something that you can't control or fixate on. If we can't process something, the way to process it is not to start to eat ourselves numb or to withhold and restrain them. And I think we don't realize that some of this is disordered eating. We call it something else. We say, "Oh, girl, I just did too much," or "Man, I ate 3 pizzas and had 5 beers." We don't realize that we're over consuming or under consuming as a way to try and control things that are outside of ourselves. So I want to end with a reminder about where people can find you. And then when you go, I'm going to stay on just for a couple minutes to say a couple closing comments and see if we have any questions. And I also want to say that I often say, we don't get to choose our trauma, but you get to choose your healing.
huh,
And your trauma is not your fault. My drama, I'm like me. I'm me. I'm a human too. My trauma is not my fault, but it's my responsibility. And so when we decide to heal, we heal the next generation. And
yeah,
oftentimes we heal the generation after us and the generation that went before
oh
us.
yeah,
So keep going, cycle breakers. Sometimes you
keep
might feel
going.
like you're even a scapegoat, but you really are the goat because you're leading the way. Where in the world can people find you, Coach Leslie
Well,
Jordan
I
Garcia?
am here on the gram, right? Liberati Wellness. That's also the name of my everything, right? My website. I have a website, www.liberativellness.com. Liberati, like liberation, Liberati. I want us to become not the Illuminati, but the Liberati, right? The liberated people. So you can find me there. And um, in Amazon, I have a journal workbook called the Body Peace Journal. So
Nice.
it's
Okay.
a book of prompts and exercises to take you through and let you examine. It starts off with the body image inventory, just some questions that you can be thinking about, and really digging into yourself and really understanding how you perceive yourself and helping you process some of those body image or body grief wounds. So
Okay.
that's me.
That's powerful. Well, I feel like your journal should be in every school across America and every.
If they would let me, especially here or where I am in Texas. Oh, it's horrible. But yeah, so reach out to me and yeah, connect, DM me. I'm a gregarious extrovert, so please reach out. And I just gotta say hi, Anna. I see dietitian Anna on here. Hi, Anna. I
Hi
adore
to
Anna.
everybody. I am not a gregarious extrovert. You look up introvert in the Wikipedia, you see a picture of me. So
Oh
this
no.
is a lot of effort, but I love that you all are here. And I didn't get to say hi to everybody and wait, but look for this to be downloaded on our Instagram page and then look for the JRock report on iTunes, Spotify, or iHeartRadio so that you can hear the
Oh,
full interview. And we have a lot of work to do, Leslie.
yeah,
So I
we
guess
do.
we got to keep at it. Anything else you want to say before
I
you bounce?
just want to say thank you again for reaching out and coordinating this interview. I'm a fan of yours and on NPR and on CBS here, as I think you come on CBS in my local area. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
It means a lot, it means a lot. Thank you so much. As we talk about becoming vulnerable and becoming our better and higher selves, that's even something I had to get used to over the last several years. When someone says I'm a fan of it, just go with it. Like, thank you, just say thank you. So I'm a work in progress too. Thank you so much. That means a lot. That's a high honor. Leslie, I'm going to keep following your work. I enjoy everything you're doing in the world. I wish we had more time, but this is a lunch and learn. So
I
y'all go
know.
back and eat to live. Don't just live to eat. Eat some living foods because you're made up of living cells and all the other stuff I want to say about that. Find me on the podcast. I'm going to stay on so people can ask you questions. I'll
All
see
right.
you,
Bye.
Leslie.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. All right, JRTA Academy Tribe. So you guys saw me on early this morning. I was up at the crack of crack, which means the crack of dawn, doing my stretches, doing my yoga, doing my workout or whatever. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to do a certain thing. Just get your body moving. Get yourself hydrating. It just so happens that I usually do intermittent fasting every day until 12 noon because that just works well for my body. And then I just eat whatever I want for the rest of the day. I'm just kidding. I don't eat whatever I want. JK. But then I go throughout the day and I eat well. A lot of times people ask me about my eating, and my eating is not meant to be your eating, and my blood type is different than your blood type. But I do tend to do these days, I'll say more like a 60-40 split, like 60% raw, 40% cooked, flexitarian, more heavy on the vegetarian and vegan. But I am, people say I'm vegan, I'm this, I'm that, and it gets so rigid about it. I think the thing is like eat to live, don't just live to eat, and find out what works for you. My body just operates better with that kind of fuel. So I keep like shakes with me. I make my own stuff. Sometimes I juice. I'll have my little protein bar. Shout out to Costco. I guess I should have an endorsement from Costco. Where's my Costco money? I'm just kidding. Do you guys have questions though while I'm here? And what else do I want to say about this topic? The thing about the living foods and the raw foods, by the way, while I'm waiting for any questions you have, and I see some people are still coming in on your lunch breaks for the lunch and learn. The thing about, if you have questions or comments, you can say a comment. The raw foods, you want to eat living foods because our bodies are made up of living cells. And in order to prevent cellular degeneration from happening, you want to have more fresh and living food. So when's the last time you had like a raw carrot or a salad or something that wasn't cooked, packaged, dyed, or fried? That's what I would ask you. Cooked, packaged, dyed, or fried. And actually look at the back of your labels. And if it's too much stuff that you can't read, you probably don't need to put it in your engine. Because here's the interesting thing. Sometimes we take better care of our cars and our vehicles than we do our own bodies. And so be careful of, or be mindful about, I should say, be mindful about the fuel that you're putting in your body. All right, so any comments? You have a takeaway before we go? Because I am not going to stay on here past 1 o'clock because this is a lunch and learn, like a 1 hour thing or less, because the world is filled with too much information as it is, and we don't need to information overload you here at JRTA. So any comments, any takeaways? Okay. All right, well, you all see what I'm doing in the world. You see what the JRTA community is doing in the world. Make sure you subscribe at www.jrocktherapyinstitute.com so that you can see where we're going to be next live on our tour, or what we're doing in the world of media, commentary with election season coming up, and talking about the same topics we talk about all the time. I always say it. intergenerational healing and epigenetics, nutritional psychology, and nervous system regulation. And then, of course, giving pop culture news and media entertainment from a mental health care perspective. I believe in you and your ability to succeed. I am Bella J. Rockman, a mental health care commentator and neuropsychotherapist, signing off on this Instagram Live. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did. You guys have been very gracious already with some of the messages you sent me. Take good care. Be kind to yourself and to those around you.